didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. Whatever it is I did. Whatever it is, I made you cry. Right. Okay, but hang on, give me a second. Hi, Charlotte. Hi, welcome back. Oh, you gotta love technology, especially when you live in the middle of nowhere in Ireland. It always makes good stuff. Right. Okay. I think we're back. We're back. How do I make sure that I have TikTok as my main thing? I do not. Back, yes, cat. Just the descendants of the Gallo Glass popping in. Oh, which family? McSheehy's, McSweeney's, McDonald's. So many. Connection Monkey. No, actually, it turned out this was my fault. My internet, whatever it is, my signal boost that I bought whenever I did have internet problems, wasn't plugged in. So yeah, it was one of those technology things that was my fault. Lish, I have a video on the Campbells on my TikTok, but they're Scottish and Irish. There's two branches of Campbells. Obviously, the most famous branch being the Scottish branch came across to Ireland with the plantations in the early modern period. But then you had the likes of the McCowells changing their name to Campbell, and the McCallanans changing their name to Campbell in the 17th century. Welcome back, thank you. Well, let's just hope the signal stays this time, huh? When Jem started the feed did go down, that was the internet problems. Unfortunately, for those that you don't know, I live in a little traditional Irish cottage in the middle of nowhere, and sometimes I get internet problems. It is the joys of where I live. I am trying to fix it, but our provider at the minute is having problems themselves. So, without going into too much problems with it, but yeah, Charlotte. Oh yeah, Prendeville. Prendeville is actually a Norman name. They really should go on this list. Actually, they really should go on this list. Hang on. How did you spell your variation? There you go. Prendeville. And they were mostly settled in Kerry. So yeah, the Prendevilles are there. So oh, that's the dream. I would love to live in a cottage like that. I live in Limavady. Yeah, I live on the east coast, on the Ards Peninsula. It's great. It's beautiful. I have no neighbours except for cows. They're very noisy when I try to record TikToks. But the problem is no internet. Please could you do Lynch? Yeah, I do Lynch most nights actually. We have 3 branches of Lynch. The Norman branch, possibly Norman. They are one of the 14 tribes of Kerry. They claim Irish descent, this branch as well. It's quite possible because there are definitely 2 known Lynch families, one in Fanad in Donegal and one in Antrim. These are all unrelated families, but I believe the Lynches here, they're Dalriadan, and these ones are related to the Kenalconnell, so related to the O'Donnells, distantly. And like I say, these ones are probably Norman. Brennan has a few branches. Most of them are in the Midlands. So we have the Meath branch of O'Brennans. We have probably the most famous branch. I'll start again. These O'Brennans and Meath are related to the Southern O'Neill group. So related to Niall's 9 hostages in their traditional narrative, anciently. And these ones are the most famous ones from Kilkenny, from the area called Idua. Um, they are related to the Fitzpatricks. And then we have another branch here, that is the it's actually O'Brien, but it gets anglicised to O'Brien. They are a branch of the O'Sullivans, and I think we have another one up north as well, further up. Another old variation of O'Brien comes from Fermanagh. So those are the main branches of O'Briens. Eve, which name was your one? Sorry, let me just go back. Sounds fun, but not for tech. I know, cat. It's Mitchell. Yeah, Mitchell. Well, there's two branches of Mitchell. We obviously have probably the more common one in Ulster would be a branch of the plantation name, who come across in the early modern period. So you're looking late 16th, early 17th century, and they're probably the ones that have the most connections to like Ulster and whatnot. But there's also Mitchells that are it comes from O'Meal Michael, so like the servant or follower of Michael, and it got anglicised to Mitchell later on. So you get them. So you have Irish branches of basically of an English name, much like families were adopting the Campbell name and the other names like that. But they are down here actually. So if I'll put them on the map for you now, so you can see them. We'll put them in green because they are a Gaelic family. We should really be doing more to this map. Okay, and I'm putting them here because they are related to the Silmurdy. So the Silmurdy were led by the McDermotts. So they're related distantly to the likes of the McDermotts, O'Connors, stuff like that. So, and I suppose we should really put them up on this one too. So I think because I'm not feeling too well today, if we start working on this map, might make me feel a little bit better to just have wee breaks while I type. There you go. So they're the two sort of branches that you get. Burke, I've heard there are others linked. Burke is a Norman name. It comes from de Burr. It famously broke into two branches. You had the McWilliam Burkes and the Clanrickard Burkes. They are all from the same descendant. Their original homeland, shall we say, outside of Normandy, is in Norfolk in England, on the east coast. I believe that it's the De Burr Castle, which was originally a Roman fortress, then it became an Anglo-Saxon or Saxon town, or settlement, and then it became a Norman castle. And there was still a branch of it, so there were two separate branches. But yeah, they're associated with Connacht, but they did hold Ulster for a little while too. McGuinness is a County Down name. They're from the Echocobo, who was a tribal group in the south of Down. They are associated with being related to the Dalriada, Christney groups in their traditional narrative. But yeah, they're down here. Originally, it was all part of the McDunleavys were the true Ulstermen, and then the Dalriada started claiming that. The McDunleavys kind of grew in power and split the Dalriada or the Ullid kingdom in half, and that's where the McGuinnesses rose to power, and the Northern Antrim branches sort of just dissipated with the expansion of the O'Neills and the MacDonalds and the Bissets. Carroll is got two famous branches. I cover them most nights too. I'll try not to cover too many of the same names I cover most nights, but Carroll's we have the Erhelen Kingdom, which is just for anyone that's not up on their Irish kingdoms. This is the Kingdom of Erhela. And what happened was this kingdom actually expanded all the way up to Donegal, had most of southern Ulster till the expansion of the O'Neills and other groups, but the O'Carrolls were one of the leading families in there. And then you probably have the most famous O'Carrolls, who are the O'Carrolls of Ely, found just north of Tipperary, although they did own large parts of Tipperary in their early history. So yeah, they're probably the most famous branch of O'Carrolls, shall we say? Corcoran is a Leinster name primarily. It can be found in a couple of places. It often gets like O or Mac-Corcoran in its sort of usage. It's got branches in Ulster as well, though. Oh, excuse me, I need more tissue. Like I say, I'm not feeling too well, so so we'll put them in as well. Hang on. So let's get the Corcorans on the map. Paul, hello. The O'Maddens, yes. So what happened? I found out what happened with my misunderstanding that they were a hereditary medical family. So there was a famous medic in the physician, O'Madden physician in the 17th century, I believe it was, and I had added him to my list of physicians as I'm doing a video on the O'Madden, not just the O'Maddens, but all the physician families, hereditary physician families, and I put him in my list of individuals to research to make sure that, to see if it was hereditary, and then whenever I've answered your question about the O'Maddens, I've still had that in my head as them being a hereditary physician family, but it's all thanks to, they had one very famous physician in the 17th century in their family. But you were right, they weren't a hereditary. It wasn't a hereditary thing that was passed on. He was just a very well educated individual, and so yeah, so mistakes happen when you have the history of several thousand surnames in your head. Sometimes we can have a little bit of a, I will always say that whenever the videos come out, you can guarantee what's in the videos is at least going to be more accurate than what comes out in my lives, because obviously human error. But yeah, thank you for pointing it out. I really do appreciate it, because I probably would have carried on with that until I'd done my research for the video. So yeah, like I say, happens, mistakes happen, but I'm big enough and ugly enough to put my hand up and say I make mistakes. Morgan, yeah, Morgan's got Irish and Welsh associations with them. We have the Morgans of Erhela, who actually I descend from on one part of my family. We actually have, I think there's up to like 5 or 6 branches of Morgans. I do not know them all. but I know there's a very famous branch, or not very famous, but a well-attested branch of the family in Erchella, and then obviously we have well, associated with Welsh settlers. We, as I've explained before on many lives, they the first Welsh came across with the Canberra Norman invasion in 1169, and then a lot of but that initial Welsh settlement in Ireland failed. Primarily, most of the Welsh returned back to Wales, but obviously the Welsh were a large part of the invading armies, English and Norman armies for centuries. So you will have a lot of different branches of Morgan, but the Irish started to anglicise their name to Morgan. Yeah, you get those branches there. So excuse me, right? Itchy nose. I'm trying to not blow into tissue while I'm on live. Yeah, always good fun. Yeah, so but if you have any questions, Paul, about the O'Maddens, I'm quite happy to, in my research, to confirm that information. I have quite a lot of new information and updated information in my brain, so quite happy to answer any questions you might have. Post nasal drip? No, just very, very, very full of cold. What does the yellow writing indicate? So here you go. There's the key there, guys. Our native Irish, Norman name, plantation name. So that can be English, Welsh, and our Scottish settlers, and other tends to be sort of outliers. So you have Gallowglass families. You have families that maybe didn't come across as part of a larger invasion force, but they were from places like England, but they just weren't part of the initial invasion. Or they might not be. They may have been here like the Vaughans and Walshes with the Welsh sort of migrations into Ireland. Like say they came across in several waves. So it's just other, but it just gives me that key to sort of explain more about it as we get through it. So Taylor, I thank you very much for heart. You don't need to gift, you're a sub. We've got the members only live this Saturday as well, remember? So yeah, they hang on. There we go. Gagan, McGagans are from Meath primarily. Thanks, sir. I'm a Murphy Purcell. Oh, that's a good mix. Did you see the Murphy video on the? I'm thinking of redoing that one actually, not because the information's wrong, but because I'd really like to try a new. I've been speaking to a TikTok coach about just sort of updating my work a wee bit. So I'm an O'Fallon's of Roscommon. Yeah, O'Fallon's tend to actually be more in the Galway side of the border, but they are part of. You would find them in Roscommon too, purely because they're associated with the Iviner tribal group, so they're related to the O'Kellys. So you I'll put them on the map too. We'll put them here. We'll put them just down there though, because they are primarily their lands were more on the Galway side of the modern boundaries. But yeah, they're like I said, because they're related to the Iviner, and obviously modern county lines don't take into account traditional lands. And also, to be fair, the reason you probably find them in Roscommon is I believe they were one of the families that were pushed north by the Burkes. So the Burkes kind of pushed them north into Roscommon. So yeah, oh, Clan Gun is a Scottish name. I believe they claim Norse descent on their name. You would find them purely coming across with the plantations. I'm not aware of any sort of Irish family adopting the gun. I can't remember off the top of my head. Gun surname, but they're definitely they've definitely they're definitely associated with the plantations of Ulster. Keating is a variation of the Fitzpatricks. Fitzgerald's cancelled. Fitzgerald's. They were a branch of the Fitzgeralds. So they're found in Munster, but yeah, they're from a cadet line of the Fitzgeralds. So they're a Norman name. But yeah, it's but they're found in Munster. So, oh, I suppose we could put them on. Let's get them on the map. Let's get them on the map. And they've gone purple. They should be red for their Norman ancestry. None of these names are like specifically into the exact location. Obviously, space won't allow it. But yeah. Have you ever come across Kemet? Mostly found in County Sligo. No, I've never come across the surname Kemet. I'm not aware of a branch in of Kemets. I'll have to look into that one, Sean. I'm not aware of how that would be, where that would come from. It looks European almost, but maybe they were, I don't know, maybe they were part of the Huguenots or the Palatine, German, French Huguenots, German Palatines, just from the variation of the etymology of that name. It kind of looks European to me, not 1 star. Thank you very much for the subscription. Welcome to the clan. I hope to see you on this members only live on Saturday. Thank you very much for your subscription. I really do appreciate that. Really does help the channel, so thank you. Have you come across the Downey surname? Yes, I have come across the Downey surname. It's mostly, where did you say it was mostly Munster? I mean, yeah, it's found all over. The problem is it's actually found everywhere in Ireland. There are branches in Ulster, in Down, in County Down. We'll put some here. Why is that going red? Yeah, so you get the Downies from up here. It's also found, like say, in Munster, primarily like around Kerry. Yeah. And it's probably found in Leinster and Cork as well, but I don't know all the branches, but I just know it's found everywhere in Ireland and traditionally associated with those areas too. Yes, only buffering. YouTube, are you buffering? It's saying I've got good signal. Is everyone getting buffering on YouTube? Because it's saying I've got excellent connection, so. Not buffering here. No, I think it's YouTuber. Maybe they're getting buffering. You're getting buffering. Anyone else getting buffering? Yes, only buffering. S, are you getting any buffering? No buffering. That's alright. So, I'm the descendant of the last king of Leinster, which I know is nothing to brag about. Dermot Mamora is not really the last king. Well, I suppose. Obviously they need Strongbow first. Dermot Mamora is a bit of a scapegoat. He doesn't deserve. There's no way he could have known what would have happened when all he was trying to do was get his kingdom back. But and actually, there you go. Anyone that's wondering, I see a Kavanagh surname there. Kavanaghs are, so McMurrough is obviously Dermot McMurrough's sort of family line. Kavanagh was through his son, Kavanagh. So they're all related to Dermot McMurrough, the individual who invited the Normans across to Ireland. But you also have Kavanaghs up here who are unrelated. I believe they're part of the Cianocta group. And O'Neills tend to be, there's two branches again. O'Neills of Tyrone, well, not Tyrone, they're part of the Kinlowen, sorry. And they owned Kings of Ulster, High Kings of Ireland. You also have an unrelated branch down here in the Burren in County Clare who are not related. So yeah, you get those sort of branches. No buffering for me. It could have just been me. That's alright, Cat. As long as it's not me. Don't put the fear of God into me like that. I couldn't take it. Too much. It'd be too much. Absolutely too much. Hi, mate. Have you got anything on Anderson? Not buffering for me. Yeah, I mean, Anderson, obviously, most associated with Scotland, with the plantations. We'll put these up here. Mostly associated with, but there are Irish branches of the name too. Let's get them on here. Mr. Anderson, we Matrix referencer. Anyone that's old enough to remember the original. So I do believe there is a and obviously I can't remember where they're from in Scotland. I think they're from around Ross, but I'm not. Do not quote me on that at all. But it can mean like son of Andrew, follower of Andrew. So I do believe that some Irish families adopted the name Anderson, but I'm not entirely sure on where they are, and I might need to have a quick look into that. I will look for the next live. I will look into it, but primarily it's the most of them will descend from plantation stock. So you will get most of them are descended from Scotland. And that's just Falvey has a couple of branches. We have a branch of the O'Connors, the O'Connor Falveys. So it takes its name from like the Falvey tribe that can be found in modern day Offaly. So you get it down there. I do believe there's an Ulster branch as well, and you get Mull Falvey. So it's like a descendant of a follower of Falvey, a saint. So it can be found in Ulster as Mull Falvey. But I don't know where they're from exactly. But primarily you're going to be looking in Ulster and Offaly. But I will have to double check on that one. That one needs a bit of research and not one of my strongest O'Callaghan's heard they're from Cork. Some of them are. Some of them are also they're from a number of places actually. O'Callaghan can be found in Sligo. They're I can't remember if they're related or their rulers were the O'Garas. There was a small branch there. Um, then you have obviously probably the most famous Callahans are descended from the same lines as the McCarthys from the Ornoctor. So they were part of. I believe they even held the High Kingship of not the High Kingship, but the King of Cashel, Kings of Munster at one stage. Only once though, I believe. Descended from Kellahan Cashel, and then there is uh, Ulster branch who were hereditary owners of church lands in Antrim. So, and they're not related. There's an unrelated families. Um, do you have anything on MacDonald? I know it's similar to a few Irish clans, but I'm not sure which it would be from. Were the O'Neills not remnants? No. Right. So let me. I'm gonna work for you. I'm gonna work backwards for you. So were the O'Neills and O'Donnells of West Coast and Clare not remnants of thrones of Kinsale? They claim it a bit like the O'Byrnes of Louth. They definitely claim to be it, but most of those stories are fabrications. They're not in truth. I have no doubt that some branches do have that maybe connection, and there may be small individual lines, but like the O'Byrnes claiming they were of Louth, claiming they were soldiers related to these O'Byrnes, and they were soldiers of O'Neill, and they in the 9 Years' War they settled in Louth. Modern DNA is disproving that quite categorically, and the O'Neills of the Burn are looking to be the same. Plus, mostly, if you look at their earlier like origin stories, they tend to try and tie in with the O'Briens. I'm unsure which one is the fabrication. Whether they're linked to the Dalcash is just to sort of tie in with the O'Briens for political reasons, like a lot of families would, or whether the O'Neill fabrication is typical of the 19th century when there was this romanticism about Gaelic Ireland, and families try to connect themselves to various places. So, and do you know anything about the MacDonalds? Yeah, there's a couple of MacDonalds. MacDonalds of Clare, who were part of the Corker Baskin, would lose most of their lands to the McMahons. You have the MacDonalds of and I know you've put MacDonald, but the name of variation it's the same. It's interchangeable. Whether there's a D there or an L there, it doesn't really matter. For Mana, then you have the MacDonalds of Antrim, who are related to the MacDonalds of the Isles. In Argyll, they came across in the 14th century, marrying into the Bissets, an heiress of the Bisset lands, and then they took that. But you also had Gallowglass branches coming across to Ireland from the 13th century, settling in around Dublin and Galway. So you will find those are Scottish related families as well. So, and then there is an argument for some O'Donnells of Tyrconnell being so in the 19th century we had this Gaelic revival. So a lot of most families dropped the O's and Macs for their surnames in the 16th century, and then tried to 16th 17th century primarily is where it sort of died out. And then in the 19th century we had this sort of Gaelic revival where a lot of families tried to put them back on their names, and a lot of families did it incorrectly. So you have O's and Macs and Mucks where there wasn't before. So there's an argument that some of them are O'Donnells and Tyrconnell. So, good afternoon, Man of Clay. Can you tell me about the McDaid? Magana Password Love Nova. McDaid's, there's a couple of McDaid's, but one of McDaid's is a variation of McDavitt, which are found in Inishowen, and they are related to the O'Dohertys, who are part of the Kinnell Owen. so distantly related to like Nile of the Nine Hostages and their traditional narrative. Obviously, it's, you know, that's debatable, but we just go for traditional narrative here. I don't study DNA, but I will just put the disclaimer there. But yeah, so McDade is a variation of McDavitt. Why is Mayo so empty? Stanton here. DNA shows we are Joyce's. We want to be on the map. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of empty spaces here. You could, and I will start filling them in as we go along tonight. I'll probably get a couple in. We're not going to have a major long one tonight just because I'm not very well, but I will put surnames on. Excuse me, as we come across them. But yeah, we can put the Stantons on. That's not a problem. So I'm not exactly. I know they, like you say, they're a branch of the Joyces. This area was called Joyce's County, so we're going to put them here, just because it makes sense. We've put them in purple by mistake because there you go. Stantons and Joyces are already on the map. Can we message you and request? 1 star, all members can message me, yes. I reply to members' messages. All my members can message me, put requests in, or any sort of, when we do our members only live, like the one coming up on Saturday, you can put your request beforehand, and then I will make sure to have some stuff, more information for you. So 1 star, yes, please go ahead and message me. Was the O'Neill clan the biggest and best in Irish history? Biggest, could definitely, between them and the McCarthys, could definitely claim to be the biggest. Certainly in having branches of their family, whether related or unrelated, holders of the name. But if you're talking about most influential, biggest families, in the early medieval period, sure, they probably get a bit of the O'Neill tribal group, and the Owenoctors certainly get their reputation for that. But the most influential families tend to really be later medieval period, and it goes to the Burkes, Fitzgeralds, and Butlers really. So yeah, it's the Flaherty, yeah, the Bruin Sola, yeah. Well, that's debatable, but they certainly claim to be part of the Bruin. That's right, the O'Flaherty's. Well, and the time frame of Queen Maeve and the 5th century again is certainly one of their origin stories. I wouldn't follow that particular narrative, but it is certainly one that they supported at various times in their history. So, yeah. What were the Butlers known for? Probably being the most powerful family in Irish history. They were rivals of the Fitzgeralds primarily, and they ruled all the way from Tipperary to Leinster, basically. I do have a full history on the Butlers. They managed to consistently maintain a top position in Irish politics, right from basically the Norman invasion of Ireland up until basically the modern period. Having very influential members, being involved in the highest positions during all our warfare and everything like that. So yeah, although not all Butlers descend from the Butlers of they didn't come across in 1169 with the likes of the Fitzgeralds. They came across in 1172, 1171 with Henry II. They were his butler, not the way we would say it, but they were yeah, they came across with him. Anyway, not all butlers are, some are Irish butlers. So in 1366, the statutes of Kilkenny were placed for the families in the Pale. The Pale is a bit of land around Dublin that was ruled by England. And they said that all Irishmen living within the Pale had, or all Irish living in English held lands was the official line used, had to change their name to various titles. So job titles like butler, smith, or town like Chester, or colour like black, white and brown. So you will find that some butlers maybe most likely descend from native Irish lines, but they've anglicised their name because they lived in the Pale. So the locals used to say, "From the fearsome O'Flaherty's, Lord delivers." I've seen that before. I don't know the source of that though. I don't actually know if that's actually true or not, but I have seen that before on a few websites. Never seen it in a peer reviewed paper, but it is very interesting to see that. Anyway, so McCormick is associated with Scotland primarily. There are native Irish families too that hold the name. Cormac was a Gaelic name, shall we say. So you will find McCormicks all over Ireland. There was a branch in Longford. We could put them in, I suppose. McCormick. I don't know why they're coming up. Again, all names, if you see a name that looks similar to yours, all variations are interchangeable. So don't be thinking, oh, it's spelled differently, so that's not my name. Like I say, I can't put all the variations of the name in there because it's just would be too many. And then you, like I say, so we're doing McCormick. So you have it's also an anglicisation, or not anglicisation, I don't know if you'd really class it as an anglicisation, or a variation of O'Cormacan. So there were branches here in Clare who were earners, hereditary earners. And we also have, and I believe they're related to the Dalcash. And then you have a family here in County Down who were also earners. I have no idea if they're related though, I can't remember, but it's not impossible. A lot of earner families did. So, a lot of families did, earner families held lands all over Ireland in different churches. And then, like I say, so that O'Cormacan becomes McCormick over time. And then you have Man of Clay. They had a stone engraving. Yeah, that's so the story goes. Like I say, I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying that I've seen it a few places before mentioned. It's a very interesting anecdote. One that, if it's true, I will obviously apply to the video. So yeah, Mullen, probably there's a branch of Mullins. This is one of the variations of it, who are related to the O'Keans, but there are a lot of Mullen variations in Ireland, but definitely the most famous branch is associated with the O'Kane or O'Cahan, Keen. You know, it's a variation of the same name. But yeah, it's got a few branches all over. From Derry, is it? Yeah, Mulligans is a branch over from Donegal, although it's really found in a lot of places in Ulster, and they're probably all related. Uh, um, but yeah, Mulligans are fine. They say the Burkes were the most cruel landlords in Connacht before the Cromwellian confiscations. They were certainly ruthless towards the O'Flahertys. Um, it's interesting because a lot of the Burkes kind of Gaelicised, and you can see that from the Battle of Knockdoe. They split into two. To say the Burkes were the most cruel landlords, the Burkes split in half, basically. Well, they split into a lot of branches, but primarily two dominant, the Clanricarde Burkes and the McWilliam Burkes. Um, so to say they're the most cruel landlords, when one branch heavily Gaelicised itself and integrated itself into Gaelic society, as much as a Norman family would. And then obviously you had the other branch who were very Anglo focused. They looked to England for their wisdom, shall we say? So yeah, is Cunningham an Irish name? Yeah, it comes from a couple of places in Ireland. It's often in Ireland it's like McCunagain or O'Cunagain. Like it's a diminutive of Con. It's found everywhere in Ireland, but it is often anglicised to Cunningham, so you will get Irish Cunninghams. But obviously, the most famous branch of Cunninghams are the Scottish Cunninghams from Inverness, I believe. But that's I can't remember exactly for the branch of Joseph. Hello, great to see you back. It's great to see you back here. Is McManagle Irish or Scottish? I would say it's probably both, but it's certainly associated with Donegal as an Irish family. So you do find them in Donegal. And it comes, it's like variations of like Monagle and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a Donegal name primarily. We can put them in. There you go. I think the Clanricarde Burkes still owned land after the confiscations. The text documenting their evictions of tenants who missed. Yeah. I mean, to be fair though, it's the same with the O'Connors. There was O'Connors who were still owned land during the confiscations, and still owned land as during the famine and stuff. And they weren't known to be great landlords. I wouldn't attribute it to any particular genetic group or cultural group. It was widespread all through Ireland. You had great families that were of English or Scottish descent who worked hard and tirelessly for their tenants, and then you had others who didn't, and then their sons worked vice versa. There was never one family in history that just had a constant line of horrible people. Although I'm sure there's some that would have more than others. Cunningham is Scottish. Yes, Cunningham is a Scottish name. I have said that, but there's also Irish Cunninghams. Man of Clay, you need to stop attributing a surname to one area. It doesn't work like that. Rooney is a variation of Mulrooney. Um, so they are. The Jamesons were good landlords. Well, let's just say they were good maybe to the Irish people. They weren't good to Africans. Well, one of them, one individual. I don't want to attribute the whole family for the actions of one. But you know, it's let's like I say, individuals, and we have to remember this in all history. This is down to individuals. Can't put it down to entire families. You know, but yeah. Anyway, so Rooney, Mulrooney found him for mana. Sweeney, please. I've got a full video of the Sweeneys, and I've got a short video on the O'Sheas on my channel, but a full video of McSweeney's on my YouTube. Their traditional narrative is they descend from the Ken O'Connells, so related to the O'Donnells, through a prince called Anrahan. They go to Scotland, they side against Robert the Bruce, they come back to Ireland, they become hereditary Gallowglass for the O'Donnells. That's debated, it's speculated on whether they really are connected to the Ken O'Connell. It's probably unlikely, but the McSweeneys and the O'Donnells believed it, so we'll just go for that for now. But yeah, O'Briens, I have a full video on YouTube of the O'Briens. Primarily, most O'Briens claim descent from Brian Boru, but Brian is also an English name. We have a De Brian coming across with the Norman invasion, and it's also a variation of O'Brien. Breen. So you have Breens becoming O'Briens and O'Briens becoming Breens. So anyway, you find Breen, like in Roscommon, Westmeath, or just Meath in general, you'll find there's O'Briens there that, you know, they're very to that. Excuse me. Dying. I am dying. Oh. Oh. Yeah, thanks, Jack. How you doing? I hope you're not still speaking to wrong uns on the internet. Is Sarsfield an Irish name? No, but though there's a very famous Irishman called Sarsfield. Well, not Irishman, but during the Williamite Wars. But I believe his family was of Anglo-Irish descent. O'Donnell can be a variation of MacDonald and O'Donnell, but the most famous branch is for Tyrconnell, related to the Ken O'Connell tribal group, claiming descent from Niall and 9 hostages. Sounds a bit worse for wear, mate. Yeah, I am, Cat. I am starting to fade very quickly. I'm starting to lose my voice very quickly too. So I'll try and get a few more out of me before my voice goes, and then I'll try and rest up for tomorrow, and I'll get a better live for you guys. But I'm definitely starting to suffer. Guest, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Guest. I believe it's English and claims like a Norse descent. It certainly in its etymology has links to a Norse word. That doesn't necessarily mean a Norse ancestry. But it's primarily associated with plantation names. You would find it coming across with the English and Scottish plantations. So, yeah, it's not like a native name. Coin, yeah. Coin is from primarily it's from Connacht, but there are many families that abbreviated their name to Coin, so it's mostly associated with Connacht, but it can be found as a variation of Owens. So anyway, you'd see the name McKeown or Cohen. It can be a variation of that. So that's obviously, you've got families in Clare, you've got families in Ulster, that can sort of, it becomes interchangeable with that name. It's also got, I believe, a Scottish link to it as well. There are Scottish coins. So yeah, Cohen, Coin, McKeown, McGowan, they're all interchangeable with each other, so you do find a lot of coins, but primarily the name is found as a standout name, as an individual name in Connacht. So Purcell, the way you spell it, but it is not the common way of spelling it, but it is found in, this is the original sort of way, one of the original ways. They were from northeast Kilkenny. If you actually go on my, I think, Butler video on YouTube, about halfway through there is a map with all the Purcell, or just first quarter, there's a map with all the Purcell castles in Kilkenny. So, you know, you can see that there if you wish. You know, the butlers would have been their overlords anyway, so if you want to see some of the history they would probably have been involved in, it's certainly one to look at. Sheridan, please. Yeah, Sheridan's up here. They're part of in Longford. I don't know if they're actually related to the O'Reillys, but they were. The O'Reillys were sort of their overlords. But I don't know if they're actually related to them or not. Are Hughes and McHugh related? They are. They're interchangeable. You will have Hughes that, but not all branches are related. So that's just two different ways of spelling the name, but not all. But you will have multiple variations of Hughes. If you go, I have a video on TikTok and YouTube in my shorts of the. It's near the bottom. It's a green and white coat of arms, I believe, with a red hand on it as well. So I would check that out if you want to know about the Hughes McHughes variations. That would be the best way. Shannon, yeah, so there's a couple of variations for Shannon. Obviously, there's a Scottish variation or branch of the family. There's also a an Irish version, which is like the servant of the servant or follower of Saint Shannon, which often got anglicised to Shannon, and Gil Shannon, and I want to say it got anglicised to Nugent and Longford, Leonard too, but I can't remember if I'm mixing that up with another variation of the name. But it's primarily actually found in Clare. It's also found quite commonly on the Tyrone and Donegal borders, but I'm not sure if they're plantation stock or not. So yeah, but yeah, it's one of the variations is the follower of a saint. So, oh, jeez. Cahill, yeah, Cahill actually, if anyone's called Charles, you find that that's a variation of the name. I believe the most famous Cahills actually come from I got banned again. Why is that? I'm not getting the warning. I don't know. YouTube, TikTok. Sorry, TikTok, I got kicked off, but it doesn't matter. I was going to end the live anyway, very shortly, because my throat is killing me. I keep getting kicked off that. Why does it keep doing that? I don't know. Right, we're gonna end it though anyway because I need rest. I'm sweating. I'm dying. I am feeling very, very sorry for myself. So I'm gonna leave it here, and hopefully I'll get some rest, and then we can have a more perky, upbeat live tomorrow. So thank you all for popping in, and I appreciate you as always. I'll see you soon. Good night, guys.